Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back with me, Yeni Puspitasari. Okay, today we'll discuss new materials about exposition text. We'll talk about the definition of exposition text and then social function, generic structure, and language features of exposition text. Okay, have you read the text about opinion? For example, do you agree that music is important in our life? Yes, I do. Music has certain role completing our day-to-day activities. Or do you agree that motorbikes should be banned in housing areas? In English, we can find these sentences in exposition text. So, what is exposition text? Exposition text is kind of text that elaborates the writer's opinion about an issue or phenomenon. And then, what is the main purpose of exposition text? The main purpose or social function of exposition text is to persuade the reader to believe something by presenting one side of the arguments, or to persuade the reader that the phenomenon or issue are important or worth it to be discussed. And then there are two types of exposition text. The first one is analytical exposition text, and then number two, hortatory exposition text. Now about analytical exposition text. The structure of analytical exposition text, the first one is thesis, and then arguments, and the last one is reiteration or conclusion. And then how about the structure of hortatory exposition text? The first one is thesis, and then arguments, and the last one is recommendation. Has the different structure between analytical and hortatory exposition text. Analytical exposition text and with reiteration or conclusion, but for hortatory exposition text and with recommendation. Okay, now about generic structure of analytical exposition text. The first one is thesis. Thesis is introduce the topic and state the writer opinion of view about, of course, about phenomenon or issue. And then about arguments. It consists about point and elaboration point to support the writer point of view. State the main argument elaboration, develop and support each point of arguments. And the number of arguments may vary, and each argument must be supported by evidence and explanation. And the last one is reiteration or conclusion. It consists of the conclusion or restatement, restating the writer's point of view or main opinion to strengthen the thesis. Okay, and then how about generic structure of hortatory exposition text? The first one is thesis. Thesis in an argument in hortatory exposition text has the same point with analytical exposition text. For a thesis, introduce the topic and state the writer point of view. Same with analytical exposition text. And then with argument too, it consists about point and elaboration of point to support the writer point of view. And then state the main argument elaboration, develops, and support each point of arguments. And the number of arguments may vary. This is same with analytical exposition text, and each argument must be supported by evidence and explanation. Okay, the last structure is recommendation. It consists about statement of what should or shouldn't happen or be done based on the given arguments. Okay, next, let's talk about language features of exposition text. The first one is exposition text use present tense. We can use simple present tense, present perfect tense, present continuous, or maybe present perfect continuous tense. And then we can also use thinking verb, expressing the writer's thought or opinion, such as experience, feel, know, realize, sense, think, believe, etc. And we can use also time connectives. First, second, next, after that. Next, we can use passive voice. And the formula of passive voice is subject and then to be. And the last one is verb 3. This is passive voice of simple present tense. And the last one, we can also use internal conjunction. There are 4 types of internal conjunction. The first one is addition. For example, beside, in addition, further. And number 2, comparison, perbandingan, such as but, vice versa, meanwhile, or the other hand. Next, number 3, it's time. For example, second, then, and then, next. After that, the last one is cause and effect. For example, consequence, as a result, so, the result. Okay. Next, here is the example of exposition text. Okay, can you analyze this exposition text? Is this analytical or hortatory? Okay, the first one, let's check the structure of this text. The first one, we call this, the first paragraph, we call this as thesis. And then, what is the writer opinion about motorbikes? Okay, the writer opinion about motorbikes, that motorbikes should be banned in housing area due to the following reason. Okay, this is the argument of that opinion. Okay, the first one is unreasonable amount of noise, and then air pollution, disease, and accident. Okay, the second paragraph, and then third, fourth, and fifth, we call them as arguments. This is the arguments of the writer opinion that writers said in thesis. And the last one, this is conclusion. In conclusion, from the argument above, I strongly believe that motorbikes should be banned from housing area. Okay, because the last paragraph is conclusion, so this text is analytical exposition text. Okay, and then how to make exposition text? Before we make exposition in paragraph, like thesis and then arguments, and the last one is conclusion or reiteration or maybe recommendation for hortatory exposition text. First, it would be better if you make mind mapping. Okay, in mind mapping, there are thesis, and then this is an issue, and this one is the opinion, the writer opinion, and the arguments of the writer opinion. There are 4 arguments. The first arguments about motorbikes are major contributor to the pollution in the world. And then the second arguments about motorbikes are responsible for causing diseases. And then the third arguments, motorbikes create so much noise. And the last one, the fourth arguments, that motorbikes are responsible for horrible accidents. After you make the thesis and arguments, you have to write the conclusion. And the conclusion for this opinion, for this thesis, that motorbikes should be banned from housing areas. Okay, this is another sample of analytical exposition text, because this text end with conclusion or reiteration. Okay, this is another sample of analytical exposition text, same with the first text. And the second text, this is analytical because the text end with conclusion or reiteration. Okay, and then how to make exposition text. Okay, this is the tips from me. The first one is you have to choose the topic and then state your opinion about that topic. After that, you have to elaborate your topic by making a mind mapping that consists of thesis, arguments, and then reiteration or conclusion or maybe a recommendation based on the actual facts. After that, elaborate the mind mapping into some paragraph based on the actual facts. And you can check your text in grammarly.com or maybe plagiarism checker. Okay, that's all our material for today about exposition text. See you in the next material. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.